All right, let's get these pistons and rings measured out. These have been bored to fit these pistons. These pistons mic'd at the exact same size. Sometimes they come a little bit different side to side. You'll mic them and get them a couple thousandths off. These have been bored to clear 3 thousandths on each cylinder as per the instructions on the box. Just like the rings come with instructions on the box on how large the gaps should be depending on how large the bore size is. Instructions are right in the piston box. And these come up almost perfect. I can't even remember the last time I've had to adjust the rings on these Wiseco pistons. You just want to check just to make sure. These are all coming up right at 12 thousandths, maybe a little bit heavy of a drag, 11 thousandths, but they're right in line with what they should be. Really doesn't matter side to side on this board because they are exactly the same. But I always do it per side, so I'm setting up the right side and the left side separate from each other. All right, all ready to go. I'm just gonna stick these on now. No up or down side on these, but I always do number side up. On the dowel pin, and then I just walk it around. Then I insert the wrist pin. Per the side it's going to go on, and I load one clip, one circlip. So it's in there and ready to go. And I just have to put one once on the motor because they're a little bit easier doing it on the bench top here. And you always check them. Make sure you can't punch them out. These are machined so tight. Got to get them perfectly square before they will insert in. I use it as a backing plate and I just get it in that groove. Ooh-wee. Get in there. Dang. Still not in there. Get in there. Get in my belly. Shit. I've never had one cause so much problems. Okay. It is seated. Let's get them on the motor. You can see the base gasket is on. And the upper case has been ported. Relieved to run that port job. There'll be plenty of breathing on this motor. Plenty of deep breathing. There's one. Okay, here we go. Let's slap those cylinders on now. Let's put on the case saver here. Good piece to have. Get this head filled with O-rings and put it on top. Grease up all the O-rings, lay them in their perspective grooves. Don't be afraid of a little grease being wrapped around a few parts. I'm just checking to make sure all the O-rings are still seated. Got a bunch of little O-rings around all the studs. This is supposed to prevent water from climbing up the stud, but they always give you copper washers to keep the water from leaking out of the studs also. In part, these do nothing to slow the water down. They get right by these O-rings for some reason. And then a lot of times right by the copper washer if it's been crushed a couple times and is deformed. All right, there we go. I'm going to take a gamble on the copper washers this time, so you usually see me using the 3-bond. Okay, now I'll check all the way around it to see if there's any gaps. The O-ring, if they fall out of the groove, they'll let you know by being a fingernail gap. Everything looks good. All right, we're going to put the chariot cages on with the stock boots I cut, stock intake boots. Again, I like my 3-bond. I lay a little down because the intakes are where 9 out of 10 leaks are. Doesn't need to be a ton, just a little bit all the way around so it seals up. There you go. Intakes are done. Let's squish test this thing. Let's pop in this seal real quick. My kicker seal. Rolled up and ready to go. There we go, new kicker seal. Let's get this off here and make sure the water pump is good. Or what the factory calls the impeller. Yep, these are usually stuck pretty good. See how easy that makes it? Harbor Freight. This looks all very nice and neat. This is the cleanest one I've seen in a long time. I suspect the bearing and everything will be good. Just push it out. This is in excellent shape. Everything looks good in there. But we've got a new seal, so we will change it out. This one actually said water side. That's pretty flush. You'll know you don't have it all the way in if the bearing doesn't seat all the way down and the cross pin doesn't go through. So let's check it and see. The impeller, Push it back through. And I can tell that the hole is plenty high enough to get the cross pin through. This should just slide easily in. If it doesn't, you got to seat that water seal farther down and the bearing farther down. Just lay a new gasket down. You can 3-bond this on each side also, just in case you don't want that leak. You never know when something's going to leak. This is so clean that I know it's not going to leak. Grease. Doesn't pinch the O-ring as you slide it on. Get the gasket hung on there. Okay, we can get that squish test on. You've seen me do this before, right? You've been watching my videos. Piece of solder. This one's 62 thousandths thick. So anything that squishes under 62 will mark this piece of solder. I'll put a kicker on here to turn it since I don't have the flywheel on because we're waiting for a stator. Always in line with the wrist pin. And I can see that that flattened it. We'll do the other side too. Clip it off. In line with the wrist pin. And kick over. The measurements aren't going to be perfect. There's going to be some fudging in there on how tight you hold the solder and what moves. So we got about 50 thousandths, 51 thousandths each side. Another one in the books here. 4mm long rod. Just finished it up. The last thing I do before giving it back to the owner is the leak down test. Obviously this one doesn't have its stator or the flywheel put on. I contacted the customer and I remember we tested the stator. It was good, but the plug was clipped off it. So he was getting a new plug put on it so that he wouldn't have to hardwire it into his harness. This leak down test, I put 6 to 8 pounds on the tester, zero it out, and then wait for any leakage, any bleed off. I don't allow any bleed off in my motors, which is one of the reasons I use the 3-bond. They always like to leak around the intakes. So these are always glued up with the 3-bond. I always run gaskets on all the mating surfaces, even though the stock style gaskets come with a rubber lip, so you don't have to, but I always gasket 3-bond. The aftermarket intakes, always 3-bond the rubber intake to the aluminum part of the intake, or it will leak. I know it's got O-rings and bolts to hold it on, but they'll leak. 3-bond the intake up. You don't have to do it so it's ugly, just a little bit. All my pieces are from the Home Depot irrigation section. This is all just PVC pipe and pipe plugs. This is a Harbor Freight tester. I've been using it for years, works great. That's it.